it is actually harder not to fast than to fast during Ramadan in Morocco. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for being here. This is another episode of Another Day in Paradise. I am here tonight to talk to you about Ramadan. So, for those of you who don't know, Muslims are supposed to fast during this month of Ramadan. So, this month of Ramadan is about fasting from sunrise to sunset. So, pretty much during daytime. And that includes no cigarettes, no medicine, not even an eye drop, not a lick of water, nothing. So for about roughly 12 hours, right? So this is a time that is kind of tough for when you start to think about it, right? Like it is a month where you are supposed to get closer to God. It is for Muslims, of course, and is also a month where you're supposed to really strengthen your faith and get rid of bad habits. So we'll talk a little bit about that. That's what it's supposed to do. But I want to tell you about the reality and what happens in the real world. So Ramadan is 1 month a year. It shifts about 11, 13 days, whatever, depending on how the moon is located that year. But it shifts around 11 years. So it gets 1 year, like 11 days earlier every year, sorry. And so, which has a big importance, right? Because it could be in the summer with the heat of the summer, or it can be in the cold of the winter. So, and of course it rotates, which makes fasting a very different experience. Considering summer, like the days are much longer, and winter, of course, much shorter days. And a lot of people agree that it's easier to fast when it's cold, regardless of if the day is long or hot, because we'll talk about the main difficulties of Ramadan and also the advantages, I guess. So Ramadan, that's what it's supposed to be. People go and I would say go to the mosque more. Some people who don't pray all year, they pray during Ramadan. And then they are hoping to that it would catch on and they would get the right habit, I would say, and get the groove and start fasting all year. So Ramadan is an interesting month because it requires a lot of discipline and, to be honest, a lot of faith. One of the things that is interesting during this month is what it's supposed to be compared to what it is, okay? The irony of it is that we are supposed to do the Ramadan, to fast all day, just to know how much to feel the pain of the needy, right? The people who don't have enough food, who feel hunger all day, etc., etc. That forces everybody to feel that for at least 30 days, right? So the rich, the poor, whoever, you would feel hungry, and there is no way around it. And that is supposed to make you closer to like the people who are in need, right? All around the world. But in reality, people actually gain weight during Ramadan. And the reason for that is that most people, what they do is they they fast during the day, then around iftar, or right at iftar rather, like around usually at sunset. So here in Morocco this year it's around 6:20, something like that, p.m. You start eating, but in most houses, this is very, very common. You don't just eat regular food. Every house has their specialties and their habits, but you feast, you don't eat. You eat so much. And usually there are some Moroccan specialties and some pastries and this and that, etc., etc. So people eat a lot. And all these special food during Ramadan are very, very high calorie food, very calorie dense food, a lot of sweets with honey, etc., etc. We have some traditional shebekia, etc., etc. These are like sugar bombs. So hence people gaining weight. So then it really depends on how everybody, what everybody does in their household. Some people would like eat a little bit and then stay up kind of late and have a late dinner. I remember at one time when I was living with my parents, that's what we used to do. Um, Now we don't. I mean, my parents don't do it the same way. They have just one meal and then that's it. And then if they stay up late, they would like snack on yogurt or milk or whatever, buttermilk or something, and that's it. And so you have iftar around sunset, and then you have a late dinner, and then some people even wake up for what we call suhoor, which is you would wake up for an early breakfast before sunrise. So around 4 o'clock, 4:30, whatever, they would wake up in the middle of the night, pretty much like all druggy and trying to look for the kitchen and then eating whatever leftovers or whatever food. Some people have the energy to like cook food or like food that is pre-cooked, and some people just chug like water or whatever leftovers from the night before. Different people fast differently, right? Um, some people choose to take the shortcut. And I would say a lot of people do. People who don't have to be at certain jobs and etc. etc. Like for example, students. Usually, it's much more relaxed, especially if you go to public school here, which means that you can. It's kind of like tolerated to skip classes, especially if they are early, etc., etc. And the teachers are a little more lenient, and sometimes even themselves don't come. I'm not sure what's the situation now. Maybe you guys can tell me in the comments. But some people, if it happens in the summer, like I said, they would sleep all day. So stay up all night until 4 or 5 in the morning, have the last breakfast that I mentioned earlier, and then go to bed at that time. So if you go to bed around 5 in a.m., you can only imagine when you would wake up. So you would sleep pretty much through the day, and then you would wake up around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, or maybe a little bit early, but around that time. And then 6 or 7, it's time to eat, and then you eat. So it's pretty much like you pretty much fasted like 3 days. And I would admit, I did it a couple times. It makes the day a lot easier. But I remember when I was a lot younger, I used to come here in Morocco in the summer, and we used to hang out all night. So something also that's interesting, like staying up late is very common during Ramadan. Things that are super hard during Ramadan. And I will mention, if you are addicted to, if you have some kind of addiction, or if you don't have an addiction, you can experience Ramadan in very different ways. Let me start with people with addiction. And I will start with cigarette addiction and coffee addiction. These are the two main ones that are legal. I'm not going to mention the illegal ones. That's another ball game, right? If you are addicted to coffee and cigarettes, Ramadan, especially the first days, are hell. You get headache no matter what you do. So the caffeine and the nicotine addiction combined, and when you like when you cut that off, okay, the severage is very, very hard, especially in the first days, and it becomes like extremely hard during the first days. People become very irritable, looking for a fight. So usually during Ramadan, tempers run high, really, really high, especially for those people. Then let me tell you the ranking of the hardest things that you miss during Ramadan, and they might not be what you think. So I'm speaking for myself, of course. Number one, I would say it's not food. Number one is sleep. I hesitated there, to be honest, but sleep is, most people would tell you, that's the most difficult thing because you have to stay late. Because if you eat around 6 or 7, and then if you are planning to have a dinner, which I really don't, but sleep is something that you feel sleepless for sure. Um, and even if you, like me, if you don't really have dinner after the iftar, you stay late, and fasting during the whole day makes you extra tired. So really, like during Ramadan, people take naps left and right. Number two of the things that is the hardest is water. Believe it or not, water is what people miss the most, even in winter, but especially in the summer. Water is tough, very, very tough when you are thirsty. If you wake up in the morning during Ramadan and you feel thirsty already, you know that day you're screwed big time. Um, and number three, of course, is food. So I would say number one is sleep, number two is water, number three is food. Of course, for people who are addicted to cigarettes and coffee, I would say number one is cigarettes and coffee, than whatever I just mentioned. I would be curious to know what you guys think. So let me know what your ranking is. What do you miss the most during Ramadan? Now, the other thing that's interesting is that some people, let's be honest, don't have to do Ramadan. And some people have to do it, supposedly, but they don't. Let's start with people who don't really have to do it, because that's also important to mention. So, realistically, in Morocco, you are allowed to fast or not to fast. To be honest, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think is going on. But if the law says otherwise, then honestly, I never asked myself this question. Sorry. Hydrate. That's important. That's what I do as soon as I break the fast. I start drinking like crazy. Anyways, people who, not everybody has to fast. Elders, sick, people who are on their periods. If you are underage, like under the age of puberty, etc., etc., etc. So some people, technically, if you are sick and you need to take your whatever drugs during the day, you not only are you allowed not to do Ramadan, but you are supposed not to do Ramadan. It's forbidden for you to do Ramadan because health comes first. Now, as I mentioned, some people would not do Ramadan, and I heard when I was a teenager that in some schools, especially in big cities here in Morocco, people, especially teenagers, they were like in high schools, they were like provoking and eating in front of everybody and smoking, etc., etc. Now, in my town, I grew up in I was born in Rabat, but I grew up in Meknes. It's a smaller town, in a smaller school. Everybody did it, or at least pretended to do it. It is actually harder not to fast than to fast during Ramadan in Morocco. Number one, because everything is closed, right? Number two, technically, you can eat, but you have to be discreet. And I think that really is very easy to understand, right? That makes sense, because it's just a matter of respect. I'm not sure what the law says about this, so if you guys know, tell me. But I think technically you can eat, but you can eat at home, and whatever you do at home, that's fine. But you cannot provoke people by eating in front of them, etc., etc. Let me tell you a small anecdote, right? So I have a friend who I haven't seen in a long time, but back to what I was saying about people who don't always do Ramadan, technically you can do it. And if you don't do Ramadan, I think it's very easy to understand. It makes a lot of sense that you can do it You can not do it. I mean, you can eat, but you have to be discreet. You can eat at home, etc. Nobody's gonna bother you. Even if you tell people that you eat at home, I guess that's fine. People would give you the side eye or whatever, or judge you. But hey, who gives a shit? If you're convinced of what you do, that's fine. So my friend was an atheist, right? And he uh, used to go to McDonald's because at that time McDonald's was only doing the drive-through, and he used to buy the kids meal. Now, some of you might understand where I'm getting at, but the kids' meal is like pretty much pretending like he's buying food for some kids, imaginary kids, right? And and because the kids' meal are not so big, but he was not like trying to like he's not a big eater anyway, so he would like take two, maybe three kids' meals, and he would drive home and then eat them. And then he discovered himself a passion for those toys, and he started collecting them. So during Ramadan, he used to um, have exposed those toys, etc., and assemble them and put them on his desk. And yeah, so honestly, I know a few guys who don't do it, and not a lot. I know something that's very easy to. I guess it's easier to do it, to do like everybody else, than not do it. Not because it's dangerous if you don't do it. Honestly, if you eat at home, nobody cares really, or at least I don't, to be honest. But everything is closed. People who like to drink alcohol, etc., etc., you cannot buy alcohol virtually. You cannot buy alcohol anywhere in Morocco during Ramadan. So people stack up and do crazy things. And even if you have some alcohol, if you're addicted to alcohol, then it's not as, I mean, alcohol, I'm sure for some people, I'm not encouraging drinking alcohol, obviously, but for some people it's very social. So this is the opposite of that. You're drinking alone like a moonshine, etc. So that's definitely not the good vibe. Um, if you want to smoke cigarettes, of course, cigarettes, they smell and you have to be very discreet, etc., etc. So I understand when people tell me, oh, it's easier actually to do Ramadan than not to do Ramadan. And in this case, I just tease people like those and I tell them, so why don't you do it? And it's hard, it's hard. Well, here is the thing about being hard or not hard. When I lived in the States, I had some friends who sometimes tell me, oh, you know what, Ramadan, that's so cool. Oh my God, how do you do it, man? And they were impressed how you could like restrain from eating from the whole day. For them, it's like, wow, like the faith must be like, and that's an interesting concept that I would like to talk to you about, because some of my friends, they tell me, oh, you know what, I'm going to do it with you today. And a friend of mine, Marco, if you're listening, he said, okay, guy, listen, man, I want to do it with you today. I want to live the experience, etc. I said, okay, fine. You know what? If you do it with me, I used to own a cafe at that time, and I worked all day there. And I said, if you want to do it with me, do it. I will invite you for iftar, like for to break the fast with me. And he said, okay. So I said, all right, I'll be there around 11. So he came by, and he came by with a bottle of water. And I explained to him, no, nothing, not a sip of water. You don't taste anything. You don't, nothing, no eye drop, not one bite of nothing. And no chewing gum, no nothing. And he came with a little bottle of water that's half drunk, right? And I said, listen, so you're not doing it today? I said, no, my brother, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I mean, you come in with a bottle of water, like half empty bottle of water. So clearly you're not doing it today. He said, no, water? Oh, but I woke up this morning. I was very thirsty. And I smiled because technically he just wants to live the experience. But he's cheating, and it's kind of cute because clearly he doesn't have to do it. And I told him, listen, man, like, it's nothing means nothing. I know you can wake up and be thirsty. I know it's tough, but you have to suck it up. Like, if you want to live the experience, and of course, if you want to just like try and see how the experience would feel like, but take some shortcuts, then that's not really the experience. I mean, you can climb the Everest or you can watch somebody climb the Everest. I mean, he did it. You just watched him do it. So, so I mean, you want to do it or do you want to? So, yeah, you got to know what you want. And he, oh, yeah, yeah, sorry, sorry. I said, you know, I just had a little bit of, I said, fine, don't worry about it. I will, like, that's fine. Like, water is not that big of a deal. You didn't drink that much. It's not like you had a full breakfast or anything. So that's fine. And he stayed all day, etc. He was like, man, I don't know how you do it. It's tough. I don't know how you do. And to be really honest, I thought about it and I told him, listen, man, kids, 13-year-old kids, 14-year-old kids, do it, no problem. So it's all a mental game. It's all in your head. It's all how strong your faith is and how mentally strong you are. And I think the fact that when we do it, we have no plan B. It makes us very strong mentally. So we don't think about, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that, or I hate when people eat in front of me. You don't care really. You are in the zone, you are in your bubble. And I think that is really the spirit of Ramadan. It's not, of course, you feel the hunger, etc., and but I don't think this is the way that you know how poor people feel and you feel bad for poor people. I think you feel bad for poor people even without that. I think that the essence of the Ramadan is mental strength, mental clarity. A lot of people use this month to stop smoking, to start praying, to kick off bad habits and pick up good ones. And ironically, most people are looking forward to doing Ramadan. Most people like Ramadan, which is crazy. In a way, it's a reset button that you impose to yourself because you have faith, and it helps you prove to yourself that you are capable of doing things that seem crazy for people like my friend who don't really understand the concept behind it. It's not just a punishment, or it's not really a punishment, or it's not a punishment really at all. It's actually a blessing. And the blessing only happens if you believe, number one, and if you have mental strength. We don't have an option to say, oh, maybe it's tough. If I could have just a sip of water. You don't think about it at all. You don't think about food. Sometimes they ask me, oh, is it okay? You work in a cafe, you serve food and drinks, etc. Does it bother you? Not at all. Because I don't really connect with like, I wish I could have just a little sip. You don't think about it. It's a very strange feeling when you are flying above this, when you are in your bubble, you are in your zone. And I think that's the main thing about Ramadan. A lot of people look forward to Ramadan because it proves to you again and again how strong you can be, and that impossible is nothing, and that nothing bad is going to happen to you because people have been doing it for centuries. From teenagers to very old people have been doing it for centuries. So you have the proof that nothing is bad is going to happen to you. Only good things happen to you. And some people are not even supposed to fast. Some elders are not supposed to fast, but they still do it. They feel good about it and they still do it. That's the spirit of Ramadan for me. It's all about, of course, you strengthen your faith. You impose a new diet for your stomach, for your body. It is tough the first days. I'm not gonna lie. When I say tough, of course, you never consider, like I mentioned before, I think I'm gonna drop this day and maybe I can recuperate it because there is a way to do it. I'm not gonna bore you with this, but nobody does. I can tell you. I think a very, very, very small percentage of people give up and scratch that day and they can recuperate it. I mean, you could, but I think nobody thinks about this option. It's not really an option. Um, you just suck it up and do it, and then you do it the next day, and then you do it the next day, and then you do it the next day for 30 days. And that's the beauty of Ramadan, guys. It's really cool for people who don't really fast and who are not Muslim or whatever. Um, Try it, but don't give yourself the option to drop out of it. Just say, I'm gonna do it. It's just hydrate before, etc., to do it in good conditions. Don't think about, I'm gonna try to do it. People have been doing it forever, young people and old people. If you put your mind to it, you will do it, no problem. And yeah, that's Ramadan for you guys. Hope you have a good Ramadan. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm trying to make it short and sweet. Thank for your support. Watch us, follow us, subscribe, comment, and watch us every Tuesday. Thank you guys. Take care.